So the first thing is I really like questions. And if you have questions, I encourage you to ask them as we go along. Although I will wait at the end if people have questions at the end, but I prefer them as we go along. Then we can address it once it's on your mind and doesn't force you to maybe remember and forget. And if you've got a question, it's a good chance somebody else does too. So don't be bashful. Raise your hand, put something in the chat, and we'll answer your question right then, right there. If you haven't attended a SCORE workshop before, they run about an hour. They are free. And as Laura said, you'll get a copy of the workshop along with the recording and other workshops that are coming up later in the day. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about SCORE. Time for a commercial if you don't know about SCORE. If you have, bear with me for 4 slides. Talk about a business plan. Where do you begin? What do you do next? We're going to hit really the very high levels of business planning. So buckle up. What is SCORE? SCORE is a national organization, a resource partner of the SBA with 10,000, 13,000 volunteers like myself, spread over 300 chapters across the country. What we find is that if you have a SCORE counselor, SCORE mentor to work with and you start your business, the chances of success go way up. I've been with SCORE Akron now for over 12 years, and to the best of my knowledge, if a business decides to start, we haven't lost one yet. Because business isn't hard, not complex. It's a lot of work, but it's not rocket science. So just get yourself a local advisor here. Locally, we have about 40 some men and women, all experienced in business in one form or another, to help you. And if they can't, somebody else will. Our mission is to help small businesses, and we do it through mentoring and education. And our vision is that every person, every business has the support they need to thrive. We've been at this since 1964, and oh, by the way, this is our 60th anniversary this year, 2024, 2025, our fiscal year. And we haven't got to every business, and we haven't got to every person yet, but we're working on it. That's our vision. So it's bold, and we're going to keep working at it until we get there. So we do 2 things. We do mentoring, one-on-one mentoring. One-on-one mentoring is private, it's confidential, it's free, and it's between you and your mentor. I like the term coach better. You can use advisor, you can go to consultant, business mentor, whatever term you like best. I like coach best, business coach. It's face-to-face, it's Zoom, it's on phone, it's real world, it's somewhere, Starbucks or wherever it's convenient for you to meet. And if you've got a question, we'll answer that. And maybe that's the only question you have. But I met with one of my oldest clients on Monday, and we've been working together for 12 years, and he's working on his second business that he started. And this year, his business revenues in his second business are going to be up 50%. So he's doing just great. And it's been a long-term friendship and relationship. The workshops we do them mostly now by Zoom. We've tried a couple of in-person. Nobody seems to want to get out of their pajamas, so that's fine. We don't mind doing them by Zoom. We do them at various times throughout the week and throughout the month. Just check our website, and you can find out how to register, and you can do it right online, right there, right then. If you'd like to have a mentor, you can meet us. You can find us at akron.score.org and sign up to get a mentor, or you can call our office. And as Laura said earlier, you're going to get a copy of the slides. So you don't need to write that down, but that's how you get a hold of us. And I would encourage you, if you're thinking about it, it's a twinkle in your eye, and you'd like to talk to somebody about starting your business, get a hold of your SCORE business coach, and let just talk it through and see where that takes you. So business planning. Where do you start? The first place to start is decide why you want to write a business plan. Because depending on why you want to write it, the business plan will be slightly different. What most people need for a business plan is they're looking for money. They're seeking financing, so they go to a bank. And if you walk into a bank and say, can I borrow some money? The first question they'll ask you is, do you have a business plan? So that's one reason. You may want investors. That's slightly different. kind of business plan. And maybe you're just thinking about it yourself and you want to decide if it's a good idea or not. So it's a back of the envelope kind of business plan. And putting things on paper doesn't cost you anything. You can answer the question, does it make sense? And it's a communication tool to the stakeholders. One of my favorite stories is about four sisters are thinking of opening a restaurant. And they thought it would be fun to work together for a couple days a week and cook and have fun and serve people. And they were just about to sign a lease on a building. They called SCORE. And the first question we asked them, if you're going to start this business, have you done a business plan? And they said, gee, no, what's a business plan? So we helped them do a business plan. Their plan was to lease this building, open a restaurant, and work 3 days a week, and just kind of have it a side gig. Well, when they put the numbers on the back of an envelope, lo and behold, with 3 people or 4 people and 3 days a week, it doesn't work. It doesn't make money. Ooh, there's a wake-up call. So they said, well, what do you recommend? We said, well, how about 4 days a week? So they reran the numbers for 4 days a week and doesn't really make any money. On a good week, it might make a few bucks, but most of the time it just breaks even or loses money. Bad idea. So they said, well, let's try it for 5 days a week. So they ran the numbers for 5 days a week, and lo and behold, it makes money. If you know anything about restaurants, it's usually a 5, 6, 7 day a week business. So at 5 days a week, it makes money. And the 4 sisters looked at each other and they looked at the business plan, they looked at each other and said, we like each other, but not 5 days a week. So they decided not to do it. Not that it wasn't a good business or didn't make money, but just didn't want to force themselves to work 10, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week together. So they decided not to do the business, which is a very smart decision on their part. And by doing the business plan, they found out what was going to work, what wasn't, and it didn't cost them any money to make that decision. What's a business plan? It's really the roadmap to how to get there. It's a written document, lays out the aspects of the business, and it's a way for you to tell you win or lose it. So if you said, gee, I'm going to hop in my car and I'm going to drive from Akron, Ohio to Los Angeles, California, you'd probably get out, in the old days, you'd get out a map. In today's day, you'd get out your GPS and you'd map out the route. It would show how to get there. So you'd know you're going to be a 2-day drive, a 3-day drive. We're going to have to stop for gas. We're going to have to stay at a hotel. Where we're going to eat lunch. You could do all that planning on paper on your GPS before you jumped in the car and went. And you also might have a sense of how much money it's going to cost you to drive to California. And knowing how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take, how you're going to do it, what's the roadmap to get there, what roads are you going to take, freeways, back roads, highways, byways, would allow you to have a successful trip to California. Or you might decide it takes too long, costs too much money, and not go. And that's what a business plan does for your business. It's that roadmap to tell you how we're going to get there, how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost, and can I afford to do it? What do you do with the business plan? Well, the first thing it does, as I said, it decides if the business plan is a great opportunity for you, or in the case of the 4 sisters, not. It may demonstrate some obstacles to starting up or some growth that you hadn't thought about. It helps you develop and refine your plans, your marketing operations plan. You can look at the market conditions and think about what it's going to take to be successful and what's the margin for error. And ultimately, it's the piece of paper, the document that you stare at, said, is this a go or no go? In the case of the sisters, as far as the business was, it was fine business. As far as working together, not so much. So it was no go. But it helps you think that through and work with your SCORE mentor, SCORE advisor, and they'll work you through that. So if you're thinking about your business and business plan, what's the first thing you want to do? Is you want to define what the purpose is for starting up your business, or if you're restarting one because you've been away from it for a while, what do you want to do with it? Why are you starting this business? Is it going to be a side gig? Is it going to be full time? Are you going to quit your full time job? Is it to put the kids through college? And then you're going to get rid of the business. You want to build it up and sell it. Is it retirement plan? What's the purpose for your business? And what does success look like for you? And I have one woman worked with her yesterday. Her whole purpose for business is to turn it over to her granddaughter. give her granddaughter a secure job. Find purpose. The business plan helps her decide how long that's going to take and what that takes for her granddaughter to be successful. You want to think about your business 2, 3, 5 years out. What's it look like? Look at some business plans and see what works for you. Please do not look at the SCORE template. Templates are not the way to do a business plan. Work with your SCORE advisor and find out what it is you need to do in your business plan and put it there. The SCORE template is designed so that any business doing anything can use it. Therefore, it has a whole bunch of stuff that in your case you may not need. And I've had people start to fill out the SCORE business template and they say, well, what's this? And I said, well, it doesn't matter for your business. Oh, because the SCORE template's one size fits all. So work with your business advisor and develop a business plan, format, content outline that works for you. Do your research, study the market, study your business so you understand what it is. Think about it and get yourself a SCORE advisor. Back to slide 7 where that information is. You can either come on the website or you can call us up on the phone and we'll set you up with somebody. So questions before we dig into the details of a business plan. Questions for me? I'll stop and take a breath, take a sip of water.
Anybody have any questions? Oh, I got a raised hand, Al. Hold on.
Okay. You want to put their microphone on?
Go ahead, Claire. You can unmute. Claire, do you have a question? There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Claire.
Hi, Claire.
Hello. So I started a transportation company 2.5 years ago. I have my certifications. I have my business plan. I'm a vendor for the Cleveland Airport, YSU, and all that kind of stuff. My thing is, I really need a mentor that's in the transportation realm that can help me like write my contracts and help me with the day-to-day business. I have the clientele, but I'm falling short. I don't have the vans. So it's a big need for school transportation here in Youngstown because they don't have bus drivers for the high school kids. And St. Rose and different schools reached out to me and they want to do business with me, but I don't have the vans to meet their needs. So I have like 95% of all the paperwork, all the documentation. It's just the funding and getting vans and all that kind of stuff and needing a mentor to show me how to get to those things.
Well, the easiest way for you to do that is to go to our website, which is akron.score.org. And there's a place where you can register your name and request a mentor. You can request a mentor and let somebody else figure it out, or you can actually search through the profiles of some of our mentors and pick the one you'd like. So either one will work, Claire. And so you can't make a mistake. We've got some really great people here in the Akron area, Akron, Youngstown, the 4-county area, Mahoney County. We've got some really great people. So I think, and what I encourage folks to do is talk to just whoever that first mentor is, talk with them. If that doesn't work out, that's fine. Request that they get you a different mentor because you're really engaging SCORE. You're not engaging Al or Laura. You're not engaging a person. You're engaging with the organization. So if that person isn't meeting your needs, request that you get a different mentor. And we do that all the time. Sometimes we even co-mentor. So we'll have 2 people provide mentoring so that you as the individual get the best thinking that we've got. And so that I'd encourage you to pick that mentor, and I said you can either choose one yourself based on their profiles, or you can just let us figure it out. Either one works. If you go onto the website, you should hear from somebody in 48 hours, give or take, depending on how often they check their email. You might hear from them the same day or next day, but 48 hours should be about how soon you should hear from them. And if you
And
don't,
I did do that about a month ago, and I haven't heard anything. So that's why I was asking you guys. But I did reach out and put in my business name and all that stuff, but that been like over a month.
Claire, I'll
Well-
look into that today.
Okay.
Okay, I'll look it
Yeah.
up in the system and see what I find.
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's, I don't know if I should tell people this, but we have been testing a new process, a new system. We're a pilot for the SCORE national organization. We're doing, we're part of a very pilot test, and we're still working the bugs out of it. I'm very sorry, Claire, for that. Laura will look into that. If Laura, you can figure it out, that'd be great. And if not, just please assign Claire to me. I will make sure that she gets contacted in 24 hours after.
Okay.
Okay. And I will make sure that happens, Claire. We apologize for SCORE, but we are testing this new thing, and sometimes it's a new system.
And thank you all.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time. Business plan. What's a business plan? All right. Usually the content looks something like this. It has the executive summary, which you write last. A mission and vision statement is almost always there. It will talk a little bit about the market itself, what the marketing plan is, how you're going to bring people to you, what's the business, how you're going to operate, and most important is the financial plan for a startup, and then any appendices. But again, your specific advisor can advise you on which are more important than others. And I'm a big fan of the 8-page business plan. If it's more than 8 pages, the bank isn't going to look at it. So if you can do it in 6 or 5 or 4, perfect. The last 3 or 4 times that I've had clients go to the bank for money, their business plan was not more than 6 pages. So it doesn't have to be your life's work. You just have to get the job done. Executive summary is really a sales document. It's there to convince whoever you're borrowing money from that they're going to get their money back. So it talks about the business concept, the target market, how you're going to get your money back in that financial plan. So that's important. And also talk about your management team. And I have found the bankers tend to bet on people, not the business. So I have seen really, I'd say, good, average, better than good business plans with just a great person behind it. Works every time. I've seen really great ideas and the person just can't seem to get excited about it and go to the bank can't get excited about it either. So the banks tend to bet on the person. You know, how invested are you in the business and how much do you want it to work and how badly you want it to happen. Talk about the opportunity, the mission, your mission. What is your mission? What are you going to do? I said SCORE is going to help small businesses thrive. And what the vision is aspirational. What do you want the business to be? Maybe you want guiding principles, but certainly your goals and objectives in what you want. Is it something, again, is it a side gig? Is it something you want to sell to retire on and give it to your children? What is it you want to do? And talk about the business concept in the market and where does it fit? Talk about the customers, the competitors. And the last point is, what are you unique at? What makes you special? What makes your business special? What can you do that other people don't, won't, can't, aren't, and that gives you a competitive advantage. Market research can be very, very important for you to know who your customers are, what's the size of that market, how can you reach them, what do they need. One of my favorite examples is an individual is going to build a set of storage units. I'm sure you've seen them. They're off the side of the highway. There's a fence around them. There are a bunch of garages hooked together. So you put your code in, gate opens, you drive up to your garage, take your padlock off, store your stuff. Stuff that won't fit in your garage or your basement or your attic is store it in one of these storage sheds. So he's going to build one of these. He had the money to do it. Seemed like a good idea at the time. And his homework was to study the market. The way he did that was we had him buy a paper map of about a 5-mile radius around where he was going to put this storage facility, and put a little red dot every place where he could find a competitive storage facility. And he did that by the white pages online. He Googled them. He drove around, looked at them, got references, checked ads, advertisements, and he had red dots all over that map. I mean, there were just red dots everywhere. So the question we had to ask was, does this area need another storage facility? So the second part of his research was to call 5 of them and ask them, do you have any space available? And if all 5 of them said, no, we're full up, sorry, that probably indicates that there's room for another one. That's not what happened. Every one of the 5 said, space? We got space. We got big ones, little ones, medium-sized ones. Come on in today. You sign up right now. You get the first month for free. We got space. You wouldn't believe we got space. And once he heard that, he said, they don't need another storage facility in that area. So he went on, invested his money someplace else. So that's how market research can help you not do a business. But another individual, in doing his market research, was going to have a drive-through beverage. I'm sure you've seen these things. They're off the side of the road. You drive through. You don't get out of your car. You roll down your window. You get a 6-pack of beer, 6-pack of Coke, pack of smokes, a sandwich, lottery ticket, bag of pretzels, whatever. Drive back out again. And so the question was, is he going to make money? And so he had all the costs and operations figured out. And we looked at the county that actually does traffic surveys. So he could tell from the county records exactly how many cars drive by every single day. Why does the county do that? For road maintenance. If they know how many cars drive through, they can predict about how often they're going to have to do road maintenance. And so they keep these numbers. I'm sure you've driven over those little rubber hoses in the road, or the little spaces they've cut that counts the cars. So they know how many cars drive out. And they do those surveys every couple of 5 years. So we worked the numbers, and which was very interesting the way he decided to do it. He said, let's figure out how many cars out of 100. So for every 100 cars, how many of them have to stop and buy something for me to break even? There were lots and lots of hundreds of cars drove by, but just to think about it, put it in perspective, how many cars out of 100 had to stop and buy something for him to break even? And the answer may surprise you. Because the answer, does anybody want to take a guess? Anybody feel lucky today? How many cars out of 100 do you think have to stop and buy something for him to break even? No takers.
About 60.
Ooh, thank you. That's a really good guess, but it's too high. It's a really good guess. The answer is 1.
Wow.
All it took was 1 car to stop and he would break even. If 2 cars out of 100 stopped, he'd make money. If 3 cars out of 100 stopped, he was in high cotton. So he went, got his investors. He started up the business, built the building. He'd been in business a couple of 3-4 weeks, and I decided to drive by, see how he's doing. I drive by and the cars are backed up out the street, out his driveway, out the street. This is a Friday night, of course, and the local factories had let out. Friday was payday, so you can imagine what's going on there. So I parked across the street and walked in, and he's busy. I mean, he is working. I mean, they're moving cars through there just as fast as they can. And I asked him if he's making money. He gives me 2 thumbs up. And I said, "Do you have a lot of business?" He gives me 2 thumbs up. And I said, "Are you beating your business projection?" He gives me 2 thumbs up, and he keeps on working. I said, "Well, that says it all." So research can help you decide to do your business or not do your business. So it's an important part of the business planning process. You can get information, I say, you can interview people, you do surveys, you get focus groups, chambers of commerce, magazines, internet, lots and lots of ways to collect information. And again, your SCORE advisor business can help you with that. What you want to do is think about your customer in different segments, maybe by location, or maybe by their demographic, age or gender, maybe by their lifestyle or values, maybe by their purchasing decisions, brand loyalty, responsiveness to price. You want to know something about those customers. How do they behave? And if you know something about behave, that's power in developing your marketing plan. Your marketing strategy is overall for bringing customers to you. So it's always helpful. In green, it says, describe your niche and your advantages. What makes you different and better than other people? Who's your customer? And what is it they want? What is it they need? And the more you can speak to what the customer wants and needs, the more effective your marketing plan is going to be. When doing that, we recommend you develop a persona, which is the specific information about your customer. You can have more than one, but for each and every customer, you should have a very specific persona. The more specific, the more targeted your marketing can become. And then that persona becomes the basis for all of your marketing messages. So example, Al's Bike Shop. Al is going to cater to left-handed female bicycle riders, professional women, college educated between the ages of 25 and 45 who own their own home. That's very specific. And just by defining that, you know a lot about that person. Professional, college educated, you have a rough idea of their income level. Ages 25 to 45, you have a pretty good idea of why they're riding. They're riding probably for competition or for exercise or for sport. If they own their own home, they value ownership. So they're willing to buy things that last. And so you know a lot about them when you develop that very specific persona. Doesn't mean you can't have more than one, but the marketing message for each persona is going to be slightly different. So for example, if we take the 25 to 45-year-old woman, if she's riding for competition, exercise, or sport, she wants to probably ride fast. She needs a light bike so she can ride for a long time. There needs to be endurance. It needs to be comfortable. What if that happens? What if we change the age range to 55 to 75? Why is that woman riding? Possibly for sport, possibly for competition. Unlikely. It's much more likely she's riding with her grandchildren. So she wants to be able to keep up with her grandchildren. She wants to ride safely and just keep up with the grandkids and comfortably. So although it's the same bike, the marketing message is slightly different depending on who that persona is. So let's talk about, again, you can ask questions as we go along. Let's talk about the marketing mix, the 4 Ps of marketing, which is product, pricing, promotion, and place. The product, as you describe your product, you always want to describe it from the customer's point of view. In other words, answer the question of why should they buy your product? And we have a whole webinar on marketing that we're running in November. So if you want to dig deep into that, that's a webinar for you. If you talk about price, again, we have a whole webinar on pricing if you want to dig deeper, but we'll talk briefly about the concept of pricing. And lowest is not always the best idea. And I have never, this is a bold statement on my part, never had a startup business that I've worked with that priced their product too high. Never. Never, never, never. So as you think about price, please talk to your score advisor to get the price as high as it should be, or as high as it could be. Because you can always lower your price, but it's hard to raise your price. So let's talk about pricing for a minute. And this is the pricing pyramid, which says at the bottom, across the bottom are the number of potential customers. So at the bottom of the pyramid, at the lowest possible price, you have the most number of customers, potential customers. Up there at the tippy top, where the price is the highest, you have the fewest number of customers. Think about the car market. Down at the bottom, you have the used car market, and there are more used cars sold in the US than all new cars combined. Think about jewelry. If you're talking about just costume jewelry, you buy it at Walmart or Kmart. They sell a lot of that stuff. It's not very expensive. But if I'm going to buy an engagement ring for my fiance, I'm probably working my way up towards the top. And going to spend some serious money. So every market looks like that. So you want to decide where you want to be based on what your business is and what your business model is. So how might that look? Let's talk about Ann and Bob. Ann and Bob are twins. Ann was born first, a few minutes before Bob. Bob was second. They're both going to get into the grass cutting business, but they think about it very, very differently. And they have a very, very different business model. However, what's interesting is they both make about the same amount of money with different business models. So let's talk about Ann. She has the idea that grass cutting shouldn't be just grass cutting, it should be concierge lawn care. So Ann manicures your lawn. She's at the high end of the pyramid. She trims it. She blows off the driveway. She makes sure it doesn't have any weeds. She gets the weeds out of it. She weeds it and feeds it, manicures it, and you sign up all season with Ann. So if you want Ann to cut your grass while you're on vacation, no deal. She's got her customers. She deals with them all year long. And along with that concierge goes her uniform. So all of her people have white shirts that say Ann's Concierge Lawn Care on it. They wear khaki shorts and black tennis shoes. If that white shirt gets dirty, Ann's rule is if it gets dirty, you better have a clean one in the truck because you got to change it, because you don't show up at a customer's home in a dirty Ann's Concierge Lawn Care shirt. You just don't. She makes good money. She has fewer customers, but does a much more manicuring job on the lawn. Now her brother Bob thinks totally differently. He calls his business Bob Cuts, and that's what Bob does. He cuts your grass. Period. If you got weeds, not Bob's problem. If they're green, he cuts them. When his team shows up, lawnmowers come off the truck, cuts the grass, lawnmowers go back on the truck, and he leaves. And he prices very, very differently, as you can imagine. He does no other service than cut your grass, period. Doesn't fertilize it, doesn't pull weeds, doesn't trim it, doesn't blow off the driveway. If you got grass on your front walk, not his problem. But again, there's a whole market for Bob at that price point. So thinking about where you want to be and what your business model is really an important part of your business planning process, is to think where you want to be and get a price that's commensurate with the value that you're providing. And if you remember nothing about pricing, remember that customers buy value. They don't buy price, they buy value. So they pay for what they think they're getting value for. And that depends on, a lot of things in their life. So that, for example, when my kids were young, I'd go buy the cheapest pair of sneakers I could. And if I could find one for $18 instead of $20, I'd buy the $18 sneakers. Why? I had boys. They would tear them up, wear them out, or in one boy's case, lose one. I don't know how he did it, but every now and then he'd come home with one shoe over his shoulder, and where'd the other shoe go? I don't know, Dad. So I want the cheapest shoes possible. When I buy sneakers, however, I want lots of cushioning. I want it to be good for my knees, easy on my back. I want it to last a long time. So I pay a lot of money for a good pair of sneakers because I don't lose them. I don't wear them out. I don't tear them up. So I'm going to pay more. So again, depending on who your customer is, and we talked about the persona, that will dictate what people are going to pay and what the price point is for that product. Promotion, you want to think about where you're going to provide that promotion. A lot of places do it: internet, website, social media. In some cases, radio may be appropriate, or print media may be appropriate. Flyers, brochures placed in places may be appropriate. So you want to think about how you're going to get that message out. And it needs to match your budget and fit into your marketing plan. So where's your product going to be? Place becomes important. In Alice Bike Shop, it's in his bike shop. In Best Buy, it's in Best Buy. It's interesting how that has shifted with Amazon, because now the place you want it is at your front porch, and Amazon delivers that. Now, not all products and services can be put on your front porch. So when I go get my haircut this afternoon, I got to go to the barbershop. I can't have it on my front porch. But maybe someday they'll figure out how to do that. So you want to think about where that is and how that impacts your marketing. Your plan, if you're going to have a building, you want to understand the costs of it. You want to understand all about your customers, where they're going to park. If you're going to have utilities, zoning, you need to think about all of that and put it in your business plan based on a location or facility. Having said that, if you can start your business without any facility, start it up in your garage. Why not? Start up in your kitchen, on your dining room table. Why not? Do you really need a building? Ask yourself that question. Do you need a facility? Do you really need a facility? And it's really, as you start your business up, it's rare that you need one, that you can't find another way so you don't have to own, rent, or lease, incur some long-term costs. So think hard about that. Think also about the customer's experience journey. From the first contact to the last contact, how many touch points are there? And how can you wow them at every step? I work with an eye doctor, had their own eyeglass studio right there on the front. They checked people's eyes, and we found 14 points at which they could touch the customer throughout that entire journey, from the first appointment on through to the time they left, and setting up the next meeting. And at each place, they had thought about, how can I wow the customer at every step? Example of that, most doctors' offices you walk into, there's a waiting room there. There's a big glass wall. And if you walk up to the glass wall, maybe they'll open it up and say, "Can I help you?" Or maybe you got to knock on the glass. That's not very inviting. This eye care facility I'm speaking of has a wide open space. There's no glass walls. Yes, there's a reception desk, but when you walk in the front door, the receptionists many times will get out from behind the desk, come up and meet you to welcome you. Thank you for coming to our eye care facility. How can I help you? And sometimes, because they know you have an appointment, they'll call you by name. That's welcoming. So that wows the customer. If you feel welcome, it's very different. So they do a lot of things. So think about that with your advisor on how can you wow people. If you're going to have employees, think a lot about employees in that operational plan. Again, that requires a lot of consideration if you're going to have employees. We had a client come in and talk to us yesterday, and she's been in business 10 years, and she is now thinking about hiring her first part-time employee. So that may not be early up in your plan, but if it is, you want to have a long conversation with your advisor about how that works. You can't do anything in a business plan without considering the legal environment. Does your business require licensing? If you're in food service, absolutely. Does it require bonding for security purposes? If you go into people's homes and do maybe cleaning of their homes, you need a bond. Do you need permits? Does the city require a permit? What are the regulations? What kind of insurance do you need? Do you need trademarks, and what's the legal structure? Are you going to be a corporation or are you going to be a sole proprietorship? So you need really to think about the legal environment. And again, we have a whole webinar on the various forms of that legal environment, forms that you can form, that you can have. If you're going to need inventory and suppliers, you need to think about who those suppliers are. The inventory, is it perishable? Where are you going to keep it? How's that going to work? And we always recommend beyond your SCORE advisor, you have some professional support to you. If you want to be really formal, you can have a board of advisors, board of directors. But you certainly need legal support because we are not lawyers. We are not accountants. We are not insurance agents. So you may want to have an attorney in your phone that you can call and ask a question to, or an accountant with a question, or an accountant that's going to do your taxes, or an insurance agent if you have an insurance question, or other consultants from other organizations or other mentors. Think about for a moment the wagon trains that left. You've read about those in American history. The wagon trains that left from the east and went out to California, or heading for California. I did a little research about them, and what I found is every wagon train that actually left the east and went through the desert, went through the mountains, went through the valleys and the rivers, everyone that made it to California from the east had a guide on a horse that had been there before, knew where the passes were, where to cross the rivers, where was the dangerous spots, where were the gulfs you couldn't get across, and could guide them. You may remember from history that not all the wagon trains made it to California. We're not quite sure what happened to them. Maybe they just decided not to go. Maybe they gave up. Maybe they got lost. Who knows? But every wagon train that got to California had a guide. There's something we could learn about that if we're going to go on this journey for our business. The Summer Olympics are just finished up, and every one of those Summer Olympians, they're the best in the world at whatever their sport is, and every single one of them has a coach. So what can we learn from the Olympics people and the early pioneers about having a guide or a coach? What we can learn is you ought to have one. Financial statements, again, we have a whole webinar on financial statements. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. The concept of your financial plan. So if you're going to start up your business and you're going to borrow money, or even if you're not going to borrow money, you're going to use your own money, you should have a financial plan that looks something like this. So here's the concept of the financial plan. It starts with your bank account, whatever it is. And if you have upfront investment, whatever that may be, you're going to need a website, you're going to need some marketing, you're going to have to buy some product, you're going to have to buy some business cards. That upfront investment begins to deplete your bank account. So you start out, even haven't opened up your doors yet, and you're already in the hole. Then you have fixed costs. Costs you pay month after month, whether you have any business or not. So if you have a building, you've got a lease or a rent, that's a fixed cost. If you've got to pay utilities, that's a fixed cost. You're going to have a website, you have a web hoster, somebody hosting it, that's a fixed cost. You're going to have a phone, cell phone dedicated, that's a fixed cost. So you start out with now not only having money you have to spend to get started, you have money you have to spend month after month, whether you have any business or not. So that says you're starting to dig yourself into a hole. But if you've done your planning right, sooner or later you're going to have some sales. Usually they don't start day one. They start sometime out in the future. So again, because they don't start immediately, you're again digging deeper because you started in the hole and your fixed costs are digging you deeper into the hole. After you get some sales, you'll start to get some profits. Right? And that profit level there, which is after you pay for the product you're selling, that profit then goes to start to dig you back out of the hole. And when the amount of profit you're making equals your fixed costs, that's your break-even point. And then at that break-even point, all right, where your profits equal your fixed cost, you begin to dig yourself back out of the hole. And eventually, at some point in the future, you get your money back. And if you're borrowing money, then the amount of money you need to borrow is right down there at the bottom. That's how much you have to borrow or you have to have in the bank. And I don't recommend that's all the money you have. I recommend that you have more than that, so that if you're kind of wrong, the sales don't happen as soon as they were, you don't get as many sales as you thought, you've got a cushion. Okay, and that financial plan, again, you want to think through the startup costs. What's all in those startup costs? Things that you have to buy before you even get started. Or if you're restarting, or you're fixing up something, there's the repairs. Do we have to have cleaning? What is it we have to do? And again, meeting with your SCORE advisor will be helpful to you. And last but not least, cash is king. So you always want to be thinking about cash, because if you run out of cash, you run out of business. You're out of business, no money. And one of the number one reason that businesses go out of business is they run out of money. Why do they run out of money? Well, for a lot of reasons, but whatever it was they were doing doesn't work. So you want to be really diligent about managing that, watching that. And if you're starting a business and I'm your mentor, every month we get together, we're going to talk about how much cash you got. And is it going up? Is it going down? You getting more of it? You getting less of it? What's happening to your cash? Because that is really the barometer of how your business is doing. Because if your cash is going up, you're probably doing okay. If your cash is going down, you're probably not doing okay. And I'm not talking about day to day or week to week. I'm talking about a long-term trend of maybe 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 weeks. If it's going up, you're fine. If it's going down, you're not fine. Let's figure out what's happening and fix that. What do you do next? Think about where you're strong and where you're not so strong. Just think about that in the quiet of your mind. And where you're strong, that's where you want to focus your efforts, and where you have areas you need help with, go get help. If you're great with the numbers and you want to do your own books, fine. If you're not great with the numbers and you don't want to do your own books, get help. Do a mission and vision statement. What's your mission? What are you going to do? What's your vision? What do you aspire to be? And also check out this website, the business.org, ohio.org, or .government. I'm sorry, business.ohio.government/starting. And again, you get a copy of this after this afternoon, and check that out, because that's a wealth of information on what you need to know about a business, licensing, starting your LLC, and so forth. Think about your business plan and meet with a SCORE advisor. I usually get the question, when should I meet with my advisor? And I would say always sooner than later. The sooner you work with them, the less false steps you'll have, the more confidence you'll have in what you're doing, and you'll be able to move forward at a good, steady pace. These are some of our sponsors that help us financially, and that's who we are, where we are, with our contact information again. And I will now stop and ask for questions. Anybody have any questions? I will stick around and answer them.
All right, everybody.
If you have no questions,
Or you can type in your questions.
you are free to leave.
So
I
far,
have
no.
a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I want to thank you all for doing this event and helping us in a time of need dealing with small business owners. So I really thank y'all for taking out the time for doing this. So,
Well, is that Claire?
sir?
Was that Claire?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for those
You're
kind
welcome.
words. You know, we're going to make sure we help you get your business going.
Yes, sir. And I was in Akron a few weeks ago, and I came to an event, and the business stands for TCT. So it's Tyler, my oldest, Claire, me, and then my youngest son, Tyler. Well, they was impressed with us because out of all the people at the event that I came to, the Summit magazine, they pulled us to the side, they took pictures, and we're gonna make that magazine for Akron. In about 3 more months, they should publish it. And they told me the people in Akron, some of the bankers, some of the people that was there, They're like, we'll love to help when it comes to your business, but you in Youngstown. So my plans for this business is not just to be here in Youngstown. I want to open a branch in Akron, Cleveland, and Columbus, but I want to get it right here first in Youngstown before
Okay.
I take on that big step. But I do plan on opening a TCT in Akron because I only go to the airport. I take people to Cleveland Clinic. I was there a couple of weeks ago. I take people to Cleveland Clinic, doctor appointments. I do it all.
Okay.
And it's just me, but I know it's a big need for this type of service. Not only a big need, you gotta love what you do. And I love this transportation thing. It's just getting with the right people that can help.
Fantastic. You know, we believe in small businesses because 75% of new jobs come from small businesses. 75% of new jobs. That's new jobs that never existed before. 75% of them come from small businesses. So small business is really important to the local economy because they employ local people. So we do everything we can to help small businesses thrive in our multi-county area. Thank you for that, Claire.
All right, anybody else have any questions? All right, Al, it looks like.
Okay. You all have a wonderful day, and that'll be it.
All right, Claire, I will email you in a little bit, and everyone else, you'll get the slides from me along with the video later today or early tomorrow morning. So have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. I'll do the same.